And you could take the stupidest martial art in the world, and if we made it honest, we could produce excellent fighters. I love the example of Greg Jackson. No, I'm not calling Greg Jackson's martial art the stupidest martial art in the world, but the era in which he came up. You know, back in the 90s, martial arts was all the rage. There were lots of martial arts movies. I mean, Van Damme was a action star. Everybody loved blood sport. And a lot of martial artists, in order to sell their product, they wanted to make it sound more authentic. And so they gave them Asian-sounding names. And Greg Jackson did the same thing. He called his fighting style Gaido Jutsu, loosely translated to mean the way of the street, or street fighting, basically. He figured that sounded better than street fighting. And in the 90s, it probably did. Now it sounds kind of silly, right? But even though Greg did the same thing, if you will, with the name that so many other goofballs and frauds did with theirs, I mean, I've seen so many ridiculous made-up styles with Asian-sounding names, with bozos who couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag at the lead of that dojo. But what made Greg Jackson different? Well, he was honest about it. He was honest about his martial art, what his goals were: to win fights. All kinds of fights. And we don't win fights through make-believe. So when we're honest about that, we go out there and we find out what actually works in a fight. What's the most effective, efficient way to win? So there's some great stuff in the syllabus of Tai Chi. A lot of it's forgotten. If you're lucky enough to find one of these old masters like Master Yu, go train with him. Okay. It would be a fantastic experience. But you'll know right away if it's a legitimate teacher or not, because a legitimate teacher will answer that question right away through pragmatic experience. Does this work in a fight or not? So I hope that helped to answer your question. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.